A game that seemed ahead of its time with many of its features. As far as this era of 3D games go, the controls were actually not that bad here, but my praises stopped there. A troubling camera and weird graphical oddities mixed with annoying characters and lackluster gameplay is enough for me to keep Mega Man on the shelf, where he continues to belong for me.
For me, and for probably a lot of people, Mega Man Legends is a game rooted in 90s display. Whether good or bad, there's also somehow nothing quite like it that I've played, and I've played quite a bit. It's got this sheen of charm through vibrant colors, oddball characters, and a gameplay loop of exploring and upgrading, and helping out a town you might actually care about by the time you finish, with its semi-short runtime. It's got some outdated points from start to finish, with controls being the sour point, but I learned to conquer them, and oh boy, am I glad I did. Mega Man Legends is a departure from what the Mega Man main series started, and I'm so glad this exists. It's worth my time, and I think if you got some love for platformers and adventure games, it might be worth yours too. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Bits of Time, where we ask the simple question, is this video game worth your time? I might not be a legend, but I'm your host, Michael.
And I'm Larry. I don't know why that one just tickled my funny bone.
So, Larry, you're not feeling this game right off the bat. I can tell from that intro of yours.
Well, you know what's interesting is I was listening to your intro, because again, we hear it for the first time on the recording. I think my annoying character is your oddball character, and that's an interesting kind of juxtaposition between the two of us.
Yeah, I'll be curious which one you're specifically thinking about, but we'll get into that. I think we should talk about the history of this game and our history with the franchise. Mega Man Legends was developed and published by Capcom on August 31st, 1998 here in the States. And this was supposed to be a trilogy, but only 2 of the games made it. And I know the creator of this game mentioned he wanted to maybe do one. I think there was supposed to be a 3DS version of this game, or the third one maybe. I don't know if it was going to be a reboot or something, but Kenji Inufune, which is a very big name in the game development sphere. Larry, how many Mega Man games have you played? Because I can't think of any.
I think I've dabbled in 1 or 2, but no longer than it literally would have been I took the controller from you to play while you took a bathroom break or something. That's it.
Yeah, so the only game I can think of that we played together that's a spinoff is Mega Man Soccer back in the day on the Super Nintendo.
Great game.
Yeah, so for me, I've played Mega Man 1. I didn't finish it, got pretty far. Beat Mega Man 2, and I've played Mega Man 3. And I've also played Mega Man X, the first one. Or Mega Man 0? Mega Man X. I don't remember.
Okay.
It's one of those two. So for this game, it took me 6 hours and 22 minutes and 8 seconds to get to the credits of Mega Man Legends.
And just for honesty's sake, I'm at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 23 seconds is what I have written down.
So, yeah, I mean, you made it. There's 6.5 hours to go. So, I don't know. You made it a little bit.
Hey, I beat the robot boss.
Yeah, I think you beat 1 or 2 bosses. You probably saw the town. You got some exploring. You went through dungeons. You got a feel for the gameplay loop. So, yeah. Like I said, I've played Mega Man 1 through 3. And I'm going to get this right away so you can stop listening to this podcast if you hate me. I think this is the best Mega Man game I've played, personally.
Wow.
And throw me in the trash, whatever, but I just can't get into the Mega Man games. I don't know what it is.
It's really funny because I thought I was the one that was going to have to say this, because I know Mega Man is a cult classic.
Yes.
You cannot mess with this franchise for some people. And so I thought I was the one that was going to be in a lot of trouble because I just didn't like the game. But I also don't have a lot of relatability to it because I haven't played a lot of the other games. They just have never called to me. But it's going to be interesting because I know that fan base is diehard with their origin.
Yep. I have terrible opinions. Just come at me. Matter of Michael on Twitter. It's okay. And on Instagram, It's all right. But, yeah, I don't know what it is. People think Mega Man 2D platforms, 1 through whatever. I heard 2 and 3 are the best. And I beat the best 1, according to people. And some people think those are the best games of all time. And they just don't click with me.
Yeah.
It's just sad for me being a platformer guy. And I just, nope. So one of the questions you asked me later is about this game series type coming back. And I think it could work nowadays. But I don't know if you want to go there right away.
This game, what do you mean games? Are you talking about in the 3D space?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely something I was curious about because it feels to me like this game's hampered more from hardware than most things.
I would agree, yeah.
I'm just wondering if, because I almost feel like the camera itself, other than just the native, a lot of games back then struggled with cameras. I feel like there's just, you can almost feel the game bogging down whenever you move the camera. Like they almost did something with the backgrounds. It's the same issue I've had with a couple of games that we've talked about this season, where I just can't stand the way that the game looks in movement. By itself, when it's standing still, it's fine. And I'm wondering if this era, they've learned a lot. There's a lot. You could clean it up. You could keep the art style even and have it just run flawlessly, if this would be the time for a 3D Mega Man game to actually kind of come back to fruition. I guess I would even wonder, like, how well do the Mega Man, the most recent ones, sell? Like, are those decently popular games still?
So the last one was Mega Man 11. Hold on, let me just check the sales if we have a number. So from a quick search, Mega Man 11, this was from, as of February 2019, it sold 1.4 million copies. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad at all, actually. So there's definitely a niche group, like we keep saying, with this series. And then typically when you open it up to the 3D, you kind of gain in more people. There's interesting other people. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I would just say, do you think, obviously, you've kind of answered my question here already with your statement earlier on about it being your favorite Mega Man game. So clearly the 3D side you want to do. But
yeah, I mean, that's me with almost anything. 3D platformers or action games, whatever you want to call this, I love when series do that. I love the transition from 2D to 3D. Sometimes it doesn't always work. There's problems with this game. I'm not saying I don't think it's probably a better game than Mega Man 2. I think it's, personally,
you just enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's way more enjoyable.
So I guess just for interest's sake, like, or curiosity's sake, what would you rate this? I guess we're gonna go back. I have a hunch people hate my 1 to 13 scale, so we're gonna go back.
So for normal, I feel like this is a solid 7. Okay. So then 13, whatever that would be, I don't know. You do the math on that.
Like a 10.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was enjoyable. I had fun with it. There are problems, but there's something. Okay, it's weird. I don't have nostalgia for this game, but it just feels so charming to me, and it reminds me of Saturday morning cartoons. I don't know why.
Saturday morning, okay.
And I just,
so there's a comfort.
Yeah, there's that vibe and feel to it, and I want to keep going, and I'm definitely excited to play the second one. I don't know if it's supposed to be better or worse than this game, but
okay. Well, so then that would be an interesting, I think, jumping off point.
Well, we should probably talk about what would you want if a Mega Man game came out either this year or next year, so 2022, 2023. What do you need to get you into it first, and what do you think they should do?
I think, as somebody who I don't really enjoy most of the characters that I interacted with in the game, but to give me a chance to maybe like them, like, to me, it's just 100%. I think the gameplay itself, just crisp it up, clean it up, and fix the camera, which they obviously would be able to do nowadays, 100%. So I guess I would just need to see more of it, because I think I'm learning very quickly that, like, the 3D platform games are just not my thing almost at all. So if you could find a way to blend what I would assume would be much crisper gameplay in the 2D versions and have that transition perfectly over to the 3D and give me a world to explore, characters to kind of help learn and kind of get to know them, it's possible it would be of interest to me. But again, and I feel like I've had to say this a lot this season, I'm probably just the wrong demographic. I'm not the individual who's going to be one of the 1.4 million people who are buying a Mega Man game.
Gotcha. So I would love for them to give this series another shot. So as this was supposed to be a trilogy, let's say, I don't know how Legends 2 ends, but one thing that's interesting about this game, it ends on a to be continued. So they were definitely planning at least 2 games. I have no idea if Legends 2 ends on a to be continued as well.
Okay.
But what I would do is I would do a soft reboot of this game and take the story from 1 and 2 and 3, or scrunch that trilogy. If this took me about 6.5 hours, I'm assuming Legends is a little bit longer. So if you make a 20-hour experience, it's a little bit open world, a little bit upgrading the town, trying to save the town. You have the cool zany characters, and a nice upgrade system when you have to go through the ruins and kind of find all your parts and stuff. I think that's cool. So if you could do that, that's how I would do it in the new age.
So now you said oddball and zany for the characters. I'm starting to wonder if maybe my dislike for the characters was more the voice acting. I felt like the voices were just really annoying.
I like the voice actors.
Which just shows you the difference between me and you. But like you're using all these great adjectives to describe the characters in this world, and
you might be like Larry and think they're so.
I mean, I'm not gonna say they suck. They're not like it felt like everyone was so bubbly.
Yeah, that was good. It felt great.
I understand that's the vibe they're going for in the game. But yeah, I was just kind of glancing while you were saying there. One of my other questions to ask you is who's your favorite side character in the game, and I obviously objectively said why is it Data.
Yeah, so you should definitely look up Data from Mega Man Legends. It's just a monkey with like I don't know, like a pod around him or something.
I don't know. I think I felt like it was instantly going to be one of your favorite characters subjectively because I just think back to you when you used to collect your like Gibbon long stuffed animal monkeys back in the day.
You used to do that. But it's your save point, which is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Data is which goes into the story actually, which is even more clever.
It's kind of meta if you think about it.
So you save at this monkey that's called Data, which is hilarious to me. I think you'll get a guarantee smile if you look up that image. I think a contender is the Servbot, which is Mrs. Tron's little yellow-looking henchmen. They kind of look like Lego people, but not exactly.
What do you think about Mega Man himself?
Mega Man Volnut is his name, which I think is hilarious.
So weird.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's name is Volnut? What? But that changes later. Story spoilers later. But we'll get into that. I like him. Okay. I like his design. I like his spiky hair. From what I know, I've never seen... No, wait. You do see Mega Man without his helmet in the beginning of 2. So disregard that. But I like his design overall. I think the armor looks cool. And I think the design of this game in general is cool to me. It has this... I don't know. I keep going back to cartoon vibes.
That naturally gets me into... You asked me about... So I played a little over an hour. And so I kind of got to see the little bit of rigmarole, how the game operates and stuff like that. And I just... The word I put for this is probably of this season the most just kind of meh game and experience I've had. That's not to say this isn't a negative experience, which maybe is actually worse because I didn't feel like anything was like exceptional. But so my intro when I was talking about it, I saw a lot of features in this game that I was like, oh, this is stuff that we really saw games in the future adapt. So this game had a lot of futuristic ideas to it with the way that, just having almost like the town and the way the quests were given and the freedom to kind of explore. That was really cool. I liked a lot of that stuff and I like the idea of it, but it didn't click for me. So I guess this is another example of me kind of taking your question. What was it about, especially like the first hour or two, that really hooked you with the gameplay and kind of that mechanic with the quests and the story?
Well, I think we have to start off. The beginning's a little rough just because you were going to a control scheme that you probably are not used to. Mm-hmm. And I think the main difference with that is you use the L1, R1. We played this on the original hardware PlayStation 1. Mm-hmm. So throwing that out there. I'm sure there's a way to play it on Vita or something like that. I'm not sure. But that's also old hardware now too. Doesn't matter.
Or like modded on PC nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. It might be even on PC. I'm not sure. But you hold L1 and R1 to swing the camera around. So basically, that is your horizontal axis. And that takes quite a bit to kind of learn from. And it is a sour point to the game. I'm more adaptable, again, because I play older games a lot of the time. Something you mentioned about, you said standing still, the game looks good. Maybe it's the frame rate with you. Maybe. I mean, it's possible. And I actually almost wonder, and I didn't dive that deep into this one from the tech aspect, but it almost feels like, how, especially older games, there's almost like a front of the screen FPS monitor, and then there's the background FPS monitor. And it feels like those two are drastic. And again, this is probably not the correct technique, but it feels like they're drastically different. So when I'm running around as Mega Man, it feels okay, other than just I couldn't stand the way that you have to scroll the camera, especially with with the controller layout. I was like, man, it's right there. It could have worked, but the background just seems like it was stuck. It's such a like static FPS where the two didn't mesh that it just felt so off when I'm moving around. And but again, I almost don't fault this game because so many of the games in that era did this. That's true. I mean, didn't the original Spyro did the same thing, right? Spyro did the same thing, yeah. Which also why I think that was
That remaster was so nice.
Yeah, that was also smoother in the original PS1, though, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more polished. Again, this is a game that it was doing a lot of different things. But yeah, and perhaps like one of the listeners, you guys might have the right technique for it. There's something happening with the FPS. Maybe it is the FPS.
Foreground. Yeah, I assume it's the FPS with you. I just, that's my inkling at least.
Yeah.
So what I liked about this game, minus the controls setting up, it's a learning curve, that's for sure. But right off the bat, it just piqued my intrigue. So the opening lore is about this world, and you are just a scavenger going down into these rooms looking for power. I forget what they call them. They're quantum. I gotta look. It's right at the very top. I know quantum refractors that power the civilization that you are here. So you go down in these ruins, scavenging for stuff. You have a boss fight. So right away, I think I'm intrigued by the story elements, and then you get into this flying ship, and it's kind of whimsical. I'm like, all right, this is just selling me. And then when you go down to this planet, or this, not planet, it's an island in the middle of the, it seems like this world is mainly water, and there's just individual islands around.
Yes, yeah.
And so, I don't know, I just liked the interactions with your character. I loved the music when you're running around in the town. It's got this nice, chill, almost cafe jazz thing going on.
I didn't have any complaints with the music. The music was again, nothing was stand out about it for me, but it was never distracting, which, spoilers.
Maybe I'm very easy to please or something.
No, well, I think there may be a mixture. This is why this is an interesting podcast, is I'm probably overly critical and have like a really just strict list of things that I need a game to do. And you're more open and free, which is much less stressful for you. And so I think the combination of us, we're going to bump heads quite a bit here.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about this game that I can, because I'm racking my brain. Like the combat's not the best. Like you're just kind of using your little pea shooter and killing people, and then boss fights, you're basically just running forward and behind them, turning the camera and shooting them. Like that, there isn't in-depth craziness. You do upgrade your buster or your blaster. I don't remember what it's called, but I'm thinking buster shot. That sounds right, but that could be.
I feel like Mega Man Blaster feels like the right one.
So you upgrade those, and it changes the gameplay a little bit, and you have little upgrades to do, which change it just a little bit. So enough to make it interesting and varied, but not varied enough that if you're really focused on combat, this probably isn't the game for you. But if you like where gameplay of exploring, doing a little side quest, learning about the town, I think you'll like it.
I kind of feel like, based off the way that you're talking about this, you hit the nail on the head with the Saturday morning cartoon analogy. Because none of those were objectively fantastic, great cartoons. They were just comfort food. It almost feels like this is the type of game you just enjoyed. It wasn't doing anything exceptional, but you just were like, you have like that warm, fuzzy feeling when a game hits you.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of this comes down to it didn't overstay its welcome. It's 6.5 hours it took me to beat it, just under, and I got enough out of it. I explored enough. I didn't do everything in the game. I'm sure you could last at least 10-12 hours, maybe it's hard. Maybe
I do have an odd critique, and I think it was more there was a lot of games that did this in this era, PS1 PS2, and I remember Final Fantasy games used to do this. Why the blue box text? Like, I don't know what it is. That just throws me off every time
I want to say, okay,
like, why did they settle on that?
Final Fantasy VII was 97, right? I'm pretty sure. And this came out, when did I say it came out?
98, 99, 98. I'm pretty sure you said 98.
I said 98, yeah. I feel like after 7, everything just had blue box.
What was the thought process? Like,
I don't know. It's easy to read. Is it easy to read? I don't even know.
Because especially, at least with the sections that I played, there's so much greenery in a lot of the areas. It just is so like in your face, the blue text. It's like, you didn't need to do that, and yet it's there. And it almost feels like it was like they didn't want to code in having to change the box depending on the backgrounds, and maybe it was the open world nature of it. They're like, they didn't know they would know. I don't understand. It's like it's a mechanic from Final Fantasy that definitely shifted over, and it's just that irks me because I never liked it in Final Fantasy either for some reason.
I'm pretty sure it was in. Before that, I'm pretty sure it's always been in blue. I'm trying to think of the OG Final Fantasy, and I'm pretty sure it's blue and white text as well. It must be just a thing. I don't know. But that was Nintendo. That wasn't even PlayStation back then. There must be a reason. There must be some like color reason. I can't really think about it right now. One thing I do know right at the very beginning, once you get to this island, I explored a different area, found different ruins. I was like, oh, this is cool that you can just go here without triggering an event. I thought that was pretty neat for back then in 1998.
Again, that was one of the points I was making, is this game was doing things that you see in modern games just at a very basic level. And it's like the game tried tackling a lot of modern features, which was cool to see. You
just didn't think it executed as well.
Which again is also understandable.
Needed time to refine, I suppose, but I don't know. I can't encapsulate it, but I think it's just that warm comfort feeling.
Okay, well, I guess I will just roll into one of my other questions then, is because you're talking about it's warm comfort food. It's things that you enjoyed the game. You didn't love it. It's your favorite Mega Man game.
Yeah.
So I guess at a basic level, and maybe you're the wrong one to ask this then, is what makes a Mega Man game? Like, why is it, if they were to bring back and turn this into a 3D game again, and it has to simply be when that Mega Man logo drops and everyone gets excited, what is it about Mega Man?
I mean, that's a good question, because I probably am the wrong person to answer that. But from a noob to the Mega Man game, I mean, I've played 4 or 5 now.
Can I make, like, potentially, as I interrupt you there, like an obscene comment, is from the 2D standpoint, is there a big difference? And this is probably going to come off as just absurd. It feels like Mega Man is just like a male version of Metroid.
No,
from like the 2D examples.
They're definitely different.
Are they?
Yeah, definitely.
That shows you how far I am.
Yeah, completely. So I think the main thing is variety of enemies and bosses. And the Mega Man 1 through 3 that I played, it's the choice of which boss you go to, and then each boss has a stage that's kind of built around their theme. And so that would be my main thing of it's being able to use the boss's powers, and that's the main thing of it. So when you beat that boss, you get their weapon, and then it changes your gameplay a little bit here and there. But to me, it's probably the upgrading of your gun arm with the abilities. That'd be what just makes Mega Man games. And this game had it a little bit. You would change the way how you shoot, how your bullets do damage, and then all that stuff. So I think there is DNA from those 2Ds into this game. I just don't think it's probably what people wanted if you're coming from only loving 1 through 8 or whatever is on those systems.
So then I guess what I'm asking is as a mascot character, like what separates Mega Man from just a regular 2D? Like, I guess it's interesting to me that
it's a robot.
Yeah.
He's got the cool gun arm. He can slide. I don't know.
I mean, he's got the cool armor. I'll give him that.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. As not being a Mega Man veteran of sorts, I don't really know. So I don't really know what makes a Mega Man game, but I think it's the choice and the upgrading of bosses.
I have a hunch that this may be one of those episodes where people are like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, I'm missing something
This
completely.
is what makes these games.
And I think, having a more modern Mega Man game now that is open world kind of, I think it could do really well just because there is some cool story elements that usually are not put right into your face. When I was playing Mega Man Zero, it's super far in the future. This is a different Mega Man. It seems pretty cool.
Well, yeah, and I mean the fact that, like you said, about 1.4 million sales as of 2019 for the most
11.
recent.
Yeah,
that's. I mean, there's clearly a fan base that continues to support it. I almost wonder if maybe open world would be the wrong, like hub world. Maybe it would be better suited.
That would be more characteristic of the older games because your screen is. You have all 8 bosses or whatever. I think it was 9. And you just pick which one you go to. So it's kind of like that little middle image of you picking is the hub world. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, that would be a smart way to just adapt it then. Maybe you please the 2D fans then.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's no pleasing some retro people. Yeah. I jump back and forth, but I can see the flaws. But, yeah, that would be a stretch.
So I would say ending note, Bits of Time as a whole is iffy on these games in general, especially if this is your favorite of the grouping that you've played so far. You like it, it's comforting. Larry's probably not picking up a Mega Man game anytime soon.
No, I don't think so at all for you. So you asked me the question, this feels like another case of a game aging insanely poorly. And then you also asked me if that's nostalgia. We can come to the nostalgia. I don't have any nostalgia for Mega Man games. I didn't really play them growing up very much or very little like we talked about in the beginning.
So that's interesting because when I asked that question, I was actually unsure of what your history with Mega Man was. So yeah, the fact that nostalgia doesn't play a role actually is probably a benefit to this game being good then.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people, I'm convinced, with some Mega Man, just games in general, you give a game an extra point or two towards it just because it hits that nostalgic feel.
Yeah, exactly. And there is some of that nostalgic feel because of the Saturday Saturday morning cartoons relationship I've got going with this game. I don't know what it is.
I really like that. That's such a perfect takeaway.
And there is something in the story, like I don't think you ever got to it, but the main baddies of this game are like having a meeting about what they're doing, and it just seems so Saturday morning. Like the serve bots are in there, and they're like, "This coffee is great," and I'm just like, "This is so random." And it's just got this unique charm to it, so it's definitely worth it. And we'll talk about the bad with it, I'm sure too, because going with you, aging insanely poor. I think I disagree with that phrase in general. Yeah, the controls did not age poorly, or did not age well. Yeah. So that would be poorly. I don't think the entire game itself would do that. There might be a few other instances, like there's this point where you have to fight. It's 3 boss battles, like back to back with cutscenes in between, and there's no saving in between. Oof. So I died on either I think the final form of this boss, and then I was like, oh no, I have to go all the way back. So those things, yeah, maybe that's not aging correctly. So you have to
that's like a quality of life feature that games have now.
We have nowadays where we can pause in cutscenes. You can save whenever you want. It'll autosave. There's not that. So that wouldn't fly nowadays, I would say. Also, you don't have subtitles for a little bit for some reason, and then they pop back in. I don't know what's going on with that, but that was a little strange. But I still think the game is fun, cool, has a fun upgrade system and exploring. So I don't know what about that hasn't aged well.
Well, I mean, and I would actually just, I guess, help your argument there a little.
Plenty to do.
Well, I would also say then, if I just kind of close my eyes and think about it, for one of these style of games, the art style actually helps this one. I feel like this is a game, again, and I can't remember which game we did later or earlier in the season, where it feels like if you close your eyes and think about what this game looks like, again, standing still, I think the art style actually holds up pretty well. Like, it's not a bad looking game for a game that came out in 98.
Did you get to the part where you had to like find the keys underneath?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's some point in the game where you're going through the town and these serve bots are in these giant mechs. I thought that was pretty well done. I think the only thing about when you fighting or you're in a bigger area like that, the draw distance is definitely hampering you a little bit. It's not game breaking. I think it's fine. Nothing comes at you like in Bomberman Hero when we talked about where you're like, oh, I'm just going to get hit right away from these levels. You don't have that problem.
Yeah, no, see, when I say not aging well, I think one of the main reasons I didn't like continuing playing the game was just the control scheme and the way that the map's controlled. And again, I'm done bringing up the FPS junk, but like the background, those are such just... They're so in your face right there for them, and that's not changing. I know none of that gets better. Correct. I don't have to play the rest of the game to know that. And so
get some cooler areas. I'll tell you
well,
that.
It's just, nowadays we have the luxury of, if controls are bad in a game, you can fine tune it with different slides. And I don't want to have to do that in games. I hate actually when I have to. But the fact that that's there, I can change up the controller.
It's available. Yeah.
It's good. And it's good enough where, like, a game like this, just having the camera be controlled with one of the analog sticks would fix a lot of its problems just by itself there. But that's also telling that it's that frustrating for me that I can't do it. And so when I say insanely poorly, those are the mechanics. I think things like, and I didn't even think like hit registry and stuff like that for like a fine-tuned like 2D Mega Man game, because I watched a lot of video clips of people playing those games because I wanted to see what was brought over, and you can definitely see the similarities. It felt like there are lots of just mechanics even in that facet that could be significantly better now, because of the camera. I didn't think the combat was fantastic.
One thing I do want to reiterate, if gameplay is your focus, because I agree with you, I don't think the gameplay is really great, well, to a point, because if you incorporate gameplay as exploring the city, doing quests for the NPCs, getting the upgrades, I think that is well done in this game.
I suppose there is two different layers to gameplay.
Yeah, the actual shooting the enemies and killing them, not the greatest. And that doesn't, for the most part, change throughout it. I mean, you get some good variety of levels that you explore, ruins, and enemies, but yeah, that doesn't change. I would say if you're thinking about the action of actually defeating enemies, and that is your highest tier, probably don't go for this game.
Which, I guess that's an interesting point, though, too, right? Because there's plenty of games that I like that the gameplay itself, the actual action-oriented part, isn't fantastic. But the exploring and doing the quests and running around the world are good. So this game technically has that.
Almost to a T, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, not. I don't. I'm saying it could, in point, it could from your point of view, and so maybe that's why like a 3D version of this in the new age would potentially work, because it does technically have good gameplay in the 2D games.
Yeah, there's some people.
Oh, shots fired. Okay.
Yeah. You already know I don't like the original Mega Man games that much, so don't worry about it. So, in contrast of exploring the town with this fun, just music blasting, you get the warm and fuzzy things. That could be nostalgia, but it's not. So I'm a little unsure about that, just because it's weird to have nostalgia for something you didn't grow up on. It does remind me of this peaceful platformer kind of thing. Like, you don't feel like you're rushed. Nothing is dire need to get done, but so you can kind of just take your time. Maybe that's...
I feel like it's just teleporting you back to when you were younger playing these style of games, and you're almost having those memories of what it felt like to play video games back then, even if you don't have a massive connection.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I mean, I'm playing on the original hardware. I'm playing on a little CRT screen. Like, it's all good, baby. So I'm thinking if maybe it hits me in a different way. Obviously it does, because you're the total opposite of me, and that's fine. This is why this is interesting. We grew up in the same household.
It's so fascinating.
I would still recommend it. Also, 100% if you're into something that's different. It's a little bit different, because it has the trappings of solid progression and all that, but there's something about this game that just feels different. I can't really put into words. It's ineffable, I guess. But the exploring, the battling, plus the story payoff, I think is good, which we should talk about.
Okay.
So...
And this is an example of a game. I don't care if you spoil it.
Okay. So it's just... it was unexpected, I guess. So your dude is found at the edge of one of these ruins, Mega Man Volnut, by the professor, the guy you know. Volnut. So he's a teenager, and we talked about he's digging these ruins and whatever. You kind of think like Pirates with an Indiana Jones feel kind of thing, and that's kind of like the feel of this game to me.
Okay.
The exploring and whatever. Well, by the end of the game, you realize that all these ruins that you were exploring are connected to this thing called the main gate, and that's the final dungeon. So you go into the dungeon, and you have to open up these 3 doors, and they have interesting names. They're the Watcher, the Sleeper, and the Dreamer doors, which I think is cool. So you find keys to all these, go through the doors, and in one of the deepest rooms of this main gate is this purple-haired guy called Mega Man Juno. And he's in this white suit and white armor. And
I'm getting Frieza vibes.
That's a good... think that color palette. Yeah. So he's from this place called Elysium, which is this utopian city that was around thousands of years before this game even took place.
Okay.
And Juno says that the island that you're on is full of carbons, which are human, so he is an android, so is Mega Man Volnut, as we will learn, and needs to be reinitialized. So he basically wants to just kill everything now that he's woken up from his slumber, because it's overpopulated.
Oh, there's like a little bit of that dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. So Data protects you at this fight for some reason, and he has your memories stored in you, because when you were awakened by the professor, you lost your memories. So it's kind of like a DBZ Kakarot type of thing.
A little bit, yeah.
So you're actually Mega Man Trigger, and you're an android built, and you are supposed to come here to regulate the carbons of this island. So you make sure they're not as overpopulated, and you're supposed to basically watch over this island.
So population control. Make sure like global warming isn't
yeah. So you're basically, you lost your memories and you become the good guy, when in my head, if you're trying to control the population, you're probably a bad guy, and that's what Juno is. So you fight Juno twice, and he gets kind of crazy, and then he sends his Data back up into this spaceship that's floating above that you've never really see. I think you get to see it from, I can't remember what the name of it is, doesn't really matter, but he'll live on forever because he can just download his consciousness into a new body. But Data like interferes with the ship and just deletes him completely, which is kind of like, what? This little monkey went crazy. Yeah. So it's kind of freaking harsh on that one. I don't know, but it's just an interesting dynamic about that.
So then, if our character's name is actually Trigger, who came up with where'd that come from? The Volnut?
I have no idea. I can't remember if the professor is Volnut. I don't remember that, but maybe it is.
Weird.
Because I know you have Roll is the girl character who I like a lot. Shout out, there's a lot of women NPCs in characters in this game. So
Nice.
that's pretty cool in 1998.
Yeah, see, her character reminded me. I guess we're gonna keep going to the DBZ references. She reminds me of
Bulma? No.
That's her name. Yeah, Volma, right?
Bulma.
Bulma, not
Yeah.
Volma. See, I was thinking Volma. yeah. There's like a similar vibe.
Yeah,
there.
she's kind of techie and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I can see that for sure. And I think so. You get this crazy Juno. Is the weird part about Juno is he's just like so plain and calculated. Like he's got a smile on his face the whole time. And he's just like, we need to kill these people, reinitialize, kill everybody.
There's something unique about
Yeah, and then when you find him in his second form, which is pretty difficult, I died a couple times on that. I didn't keep track of my deaths.
Second form.
There always is. I might have not kept on my deaths on this. Maybe I did in the quick bits. We'll get there. And he starts to show a little bit of emotion. He starts getting angry, which is cool. He comes to this big, he grows quite significantly taller, and it's fun. It's pretty hard. I'm doing a lot of jumping around and stuff.
I really want a game to have the second transformation be smaller than the first. Like, that never happens. They always have to get gigantic.
It's because it's cool, man.
Yeah.
So the ending also made me smile. It's wholesome. They do a really good job of making you feel like loved by the town and that you're the hero that saved this island, which I did not expect. And they also really guilt trip you into not finishing the side quest. Like, they'll be like, at the end, people will be talking to you like, you didn't do this. Yeah, I'm like, oh, well, shit.
Okay, cool.
So it's kind of awesome. I like that. And
It's almost like they're trying to not make them side quests.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you should have done everything to save this town and whatever. But you do, and I think it wraps up really well, and I didn't expect a deep story like that. Or deep is maybe the wrong word, just a unique take on what I thought the whole game was going to be about. I thought it was going to be pretty whimsical, and it gets a little tiny dark there.
I like that. That's a good, especially with how like colorful the game seems to be.
And I think they played off that with Mega Man Juno having purple hair. He's got a smile, but then it's kind of like, wow, you're talking about some dark shit there, bud.
You got me thinking that there's always something to that. Like, obviously humanity's not there yet, but just the idea of if you can just download your consciousness again and again and again, it almost makes the idea of death worse than today, where it's inevitable right now. So like a tragic like car accident in the future in a game like that, where you could in theory live forever, the idea of just being deleted and you're dead, it's like more of a travesty than it even is today.
Yeah, and I think there was something in the lore about that all the people on the island are technically not human. They're like reproduced by Elysium or something like that. It got a little
Man, there's a lot of like almost futuristic talk to like it's like baked in like a colorful game, but like that's stuff we're dealing with today even.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of cool. So this is 1998. Good job.
Okay. Yeah.
Kenji Funin, all them peeps that made this game. So you've heard enough about our thoughts. Let's just get into the quick bits. I died 7 times.
What? You died 7 times the entire game?
Yeah.
So it's not a very hard game.
I don't know. Or maybe I'm just good. Who knows? Don't know.
I feel like I think I died twice.
Yeah. So I'm just better. It's good.
I mean, that's not a shocker.
Yeah. You get control after 1 minute and 45 seconds. That's pretty dang quick, which I appreciate. They give you that little story intro, and then they just drop you in, and there you go. You're ready to control.
Unique little stat. I do remember it kind of being very quick.
Yeah. One of my favorite little dialogues is I feel like it's the first quest you get. It's these 2 people in a shop, and one of them has gone missing. And it's the wife that runs the shop, and
I did that one.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
And she says, "Hey, little blue boy." I don't know why. I just love that so much. I talked about lots of women representation, which I think is cool. The title screen changes every single time you boot it up, which is interesting. So the little serve bots, the little yellow people I said you should go Google, which if you haven't, pause it, go Google that. They do different things each time you go into the game, which I think is fun.
Okay. I like
little
that.
silly things. So the attention to detail.
That's not something that happens a lot even in modern games. So that's
no,
a nice
sometimes you
twist.
get the background to switch after you make it to a certain story moment and whatever.
Or if you beat the game.
Yeah, and just that's also true. Just repeat. His name is Mega Man Volnut. It's just great.
Technically Trigger, though.
Yeah, but Volnut is so good.
It's a heck of a name.
There is a certain item which is hard to miss, but I did in my first go through of the last dungeon. I think it was the last dungeon. Somewhat last dungeon, and then I died, and so I went back I died on a boss, and then I went back and I missed a chest that I had to open. And man, if you did not get this upgrade, I don't know how you beat the end of this game, because it made it so much easier. And I can't remember what it did, but it like did a stronger blast. My attack went so much higher, and I was like, "Ooh, That would suck to miss that.
My hunch is maybe that's why it seems like it's pretty an obvious spot.
I think it's on a 3-level tier, and you're going down, and it's either on the second or the final level, and I just went through a different door, and I skipped it, but it would be really hard if you didn't beat that.
You get that.
Yes.
It would be very hard
You have to get it to beat it. Yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah, I don't have any quick bits, so moving on.
Hey, little blue boy. You might be old, dated, don't have pristine shine, but I gotta tell you, I am happy we went on an adventure together. Larry, well, he's hard to please, and, well, don't you worry. You can be criticized. Full nut, but I think you're quite swell. This isn't Mega Man as you've seen before, and I don't think I'd recommend it if you're looking for more of that old-school side-scroller. But if you're looking for a charming, little time commitment, unique experience, I think you'll enjoy this one. And I hope the series gets another shot.